I want to go to my dad, Jay Sekulow, because this is another case that we've involved in with both briefs we filed in at the U.S. Supreme Court, Dad. First was the Fisher case that we got the decision on June 28th. That case specifically knocked out likely 2 of the 4 charges Jack Smith wanted to bring against Donald Trump in D.C., the conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding and the obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. So those 2, Dad, I think were already DOA, and now he's asking for more time to figure out if the additional 2 charges survive the Supreme Court decision either.
Yeah, and I think the answer to that is going to be they don't. And Jack Smith has come to the realization that his whole operation is just about up. I mean, we know about these special counsels because we litigated and dealt with it with Bob Mueller. And the problem that you have here is the Supreme Court opinion. And by the way, it not only affected the situation down in Florida, but it also affects the New York prosecution, the state prosecution, because there, in the Supreme Court opinion, the court said that you cannot have any evidence of wrongful acts, basically, if in fact it was official acts of the president. The court can't get involved in that. So this idea in New York that they let in all of this evidence, as you know, all this evidence was let in that would now not be admissible, including the evidence of witnesses that worked in the White House. Then as it relates to the January 6 issues, Jack Smith is facing the same problem. What this comes down to, Jordan, at the end of the day here is they can't figure out under these Supreme Court decisions how they can get their evidence in, and that's why they keep calling these opinions extraordinary.
At what point, Dad, does someone like Judge Chutkin, who's accepted the delays, obviously, when the Supreme Court decided to hear the case, that would be normal, but then sets a date for August 16th, and then Jack Smith comes back. Usually he's trying to rush things, and now it's, I need at least another 2 weeks. It's not like the Trump team doesn't want to give him that because it shows a lot. Of course, we're talking about it right now, but they're obviously having serious issues. I mean, in one case, he's been found to be illegitimate and as a prosecutor, and that's being just the notice of appeal has just been filed there in the 11th Circuit. But the idea here that they were down to maybe 2 charges after June 28th, and then after the July 1st decision by the Supreme Court, they may not have anything. And they would have to almost restart. I don't think there's an appetite for that.
I don't think there is an appetite to restart. They'd have to call the new grand jury. They're not going to be doing that. I think Jack Smith's in a free fall, legally speaking. They had 2 cases go against them significantly. The most significantly, it curtailed their authority in one, and in the other one, the immunity issue raised so many evidentiary points for the special counsel that I don't think they can move forward on a case. So, and by the way, the Supreme Court took the position we advocated in our briefs that the president was immune from prosecution for official acts he took as president, which, by the way, you would think every president would want that same kind of protection. So the Supreme Court got it right. Jack Smith, in 6 weeks now, has not been able to figure out, Jordan, how to move forward on their case. That's what this really is.
Yeah, so let's say you give him 2 more weeks. So what is 2 more weeks really going to be for Jack Smith? There's just another 2 weeks to try and figure out if they can figure out something that they can file without looking ridiculous or having to tell the court that they've got to wait. Because I think at that point, I don't know that the court wants to keep waiting anymore on every single decision, especially the decision from the Supreme Court to say, listen, you've got to go through every specific act with a presumption of immunity when a president who's in office, and then determine did an act, like at what point does an act cross the line where it's no longer official and could be criminal. I mean, and that is a very fact-specific decision to make. I don't think there's just a rule that you can make on that. And even if there is, that's got to go all the way through the court system again.
Exactly right. So the acts, for instance, on election integrity issues, that would clearly be deemed an official act. So the actions taken in light of the election would be deemed official acts. So I think what Jack Smith is trying to do in the next 2.5 weeks, Jordan, is evaluate whether they can even move forward. I would not be shocked if there ends up being motions to dismiss. It's very conceivable that the government may not be able to proceed at all. They may move on their own. I'm hard-pressed to think they would do that, but you look at it, you think that's what's coming.
Well, we know what's coming from the left and the Democrats is going to be This is why we have to, we have to pack the court. We have to put term limits on the court. So they've kind of set the stage for Jack Smith to do this by blaming the U.S. Supreme Court. That's what he'll do.
Yeah, because right now you got Jack Smith. You got one court saying that the appointment of the special counsel was unconstitutional, which, by the way, we advocated for that when we had the Mueller probe going. And then on the other hand, they're saying that the president is also immune. Yeah. And then you had, like you said, the opinion on the substantive crime of the official acts of Congress, and those were thrown out. So they are in very bad shape, the government, in these cases.
I wanted to ask you, too, about, we're talking about resources today at the ACLJ, because yesterday we kind of laid out with the whistleblowers, with the Open Skies program, Tulsi Gabbard, our colleague, even her husband, still was tagged in this program. And we talked about, generally the work, the FOIA work, but also the coming litigation and the amount of different government agencies this involves. And like Jack Smith said in his team in the court case in Florida, they have limitless resources. They don't have a budget. They have limitless resources. So when you take this on, especially in the national security sense that we are doing for our colleague Tulsi Gabbard, and you take this on, you are taking on a government that has limitless litigation resources. So we're actually taking on our taxpayer dollars, really.
It reminds me very much of the cases we raised and made against the IRS for their unconstitutional targeting. It's a lot of the same issues, by the way. It's this kind of, deep state targeting that's going on, except this time, again, they've been caught red-handed. But you're right. So the support of the work of the ACLJ allows our team to do what is very, very sophisticated litigation. We've got involved in this case, former U.S. attorneys on multiple levels working on this, appellate lawyers already working on this. So our government affairs team working on this. So your support of the ACLJ, especially during this matching challenge, and we are dead even where we were last year. I'd like us to see if we can pull ahead a little bit. So I encourage people to go to aclj.org and have their gifts matched. It makes a huge difference, especially with these new and complex cases.
Yeah. So, and Dad, I appreciate you joining us. I think what you said there is key. We're coming to you today straight on this because, again, this was a case that, you can't prepare for any of these. But this was a big one that it was, when you first look at it, you're like almost shocked that it's real. Then you want to go through and make sure, okay, this is real. And then you realize, okay, we've done cases in the past similar to this, so we know what the resources are like. So let's go to our team today and let all of you know who are supporters that the more resources we can put on this case is protecting your rights too. I mean, this program has never stopped a single act of terrorism, a single crime, or led to an arrest of a terrorist, the Open Skies program. So I need you to take part in our Life and Liberty Drive right now. Make that donation at aclj.org, and your gift will be doubled. So again, if you can make that $100 donation today, this is the day to make that $100 donation. If you can make that $25 donation, this is the day to do it. $50. Every donation matters. Maybe you can donate $1,000. Because this is going to be a massive case taking on the government. And it's not just for Tulsi Gabbard. It's for all of us and all of you. Donate aclj.org.